Sometimes it's the smallest, simplest little technique that can make huge differences in our guitar playing. This little exercise, this lick, is easy to play at any moment, and suddenly you've gone from boring to way more cool. The technique works like this. Basically, all we do is we take a simple minor pentatonic shape. Let's take E minor pentatonic. And occasionally, instead of going scale-wise, we jump up a fourth. What does up a fourth mean? From a theory perspective, it means basically if you're on an E note, you're going to go to an A note. Why? E, F, G, A. But actually, we don't really need to think about all that because up a fourth on the guitar is up a string, for most strings anyway. So we have this tendency, we all do, when we're playing pentatonic, to play scale-wise, next note, next note. Of course we do because that's how we practice the scale all the time. So that's the way we tend to improvise with it. But what if every now and then we jump a fourth? That was just the same pentatonic scale, but every now and then jump a fourth. I did it twice in that one. Or I can add the blue note. It makes a big difference to the sound. Now it doesn't sound like we're meandering down pentatonic. It sounds like we thought about the entire thing. The reality is we didn't think about the whole thing. We really are still just picturing that minor pentatonic shape and just every now and then rolling the finger up a fourth. And that's what one of my students calls it. He calls it the rollover. Thanks to Simon for that. I call it up a fourth, but whatever. It's a rollover in a sense because let's say you're on this E note. This is 14th fret of the D string. You're descending. The roll goes like this. The finger just rolls. You can just move the hand down like that. Now we're going to do this up a fourth roll in many different places so that you get to practice it because we can categorize them in different ways. We can practice them on certain strings and we can practice them with a different finger. We're going to do third finger and first finger. So let's start just by descending E minor pentatonic. And we're going to do a third finger roll up a fourth when we get to the D string. So we go. Okay, that's. Now let's add another spot for the up a fourth roll. We're going to do the roll on the A string. So we're going to descend quite a ways before we get to the roll. Now let's do two of them. We'll do both of them. We'll do the roll from the D string and we'll do the roll from the A string. And now we got something pretty cool. That already sounds really interesting. It doesn't sound like just the pentatonic scale anymore. Like I say, it sounds like you've thought about the entire thing. It sounds like the entire thing is a lick. But it's not really. It's still just the pentatonic shape. You've just chosen two places to jump. And eventually you can do it pretty randomly. Now I've created a worksheet that you can download from my website that's got tablature exercises written out for you to practice this technique, and all the examples I'm doing in this video are in that worksheet. So you can download that from bluemorse.com. The link, of course, is below. Now we can make that more interesting simply by starting with a bend. Let's say we're going to bend the first note, and then we continue down doing the pentatonic shape and doing two of the rollovers. Or bend the B string, why not? Or let's add the blue notes in. Let's add the blue note in here, right? So we're gonna go take away the bends for now, just the blue note. That's a pretty sweet lick, actually. Let's do 2 blue notes with the 2 upper fourth rollovers. That is pretty complex. It sounds so complex, but actually you can practice this and you can get good at this pretty quick, I think. Okay, now let's add a more interesting ending. Again, the more you just kind of expand the concept, the more it starts to sound like a lick and the less it starts to sound like playing a scale. So instead of ending with going to the root this way, which is kind of hard, especially way up here at the 12th and 15th fret, we really got to reach that pinky around. Instead of doing that, we're going to move down to the next pentatonic shape below. So if we're coming from that, the easy shape I call it, we just go down that way. That allows us also to do this little kind of tiny quarter step, half step bend right before the root. This sounds very cool. So now we've got 2 blue notes and 2 fourth rollovers. Okay, one more touch. Instead of going to the root here, we're gonna go up to the next root up an octave. You could add the bend back in. I mean, just think of all the variations that you can do yourself. You can also take any simple lick that you might already know. Like, let's take the lick from my video called Stop Playing This Lick. Hey, let's play it. But let's add the little upper fourth roll. The Stop Playing This Lick is normally, right? Let's add the upper fourth at the end. I just went up a fourth and back to the root again. That's pretty cool. It makes the that kind of overused lick more interesting now. It's got a more interesting ending, something that we might not normally do. Okay, now we can also do the upper fourth rollover with a first finger. It's the same thing, really, but it now gives us access to different notes to mix in with the idea, right, with the technique. So I'm going to use, instead of the third finger, I'm going to use the first finger roll from the D string once I get to it. I'm going to start from the top of the pentatonic again. And of course, we could add 2 first finger rolls, one from the D string and one from the A string. That's kind of cool because you get the blue note twice after you do that first finger roll. And we can put those rolls in any pentatonic shape that we might already know, or we can even move them to different strings. Now, if you move them to different strings, you might have a challenge depending on the pentatonic shape. This easy pentatonic shape, it's a lot easier to use because especially here from the D and the G strings, they are both frets 12, 14, 12, 14, right? So the rollover works quite well. But we could also do the same kind of concept, up a string concept, let's say going from the G to B string. If we do that with a first finger roll, that's also easy because it'll be G to B, 12th fret, 12th fret. That's pretty cool. I could do a first finger roll from the G to the B string and then a third finger roll from the D to the G string. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, let's do one more challenging one. If we wanted to do a third finger roll in this pentatonic shape from the G string to the B string, we can't really do the roll because the problem is the G string would be 14th fret, that's A at the 14th fret, and then the B string note would be D, which is 15th fret of the E string. So we have to use different fingers. This is where we can exercise our pinky though, and that's good exercise. We usually all need exercise for our pinky. That's pretty cool there, right? That sounds like a nice big jump. Now there is another way that some guitar players do this. Some guitar players don't do the roll. Some guitar players will actually use a different finger for one of the notes. This is really common and it's also totally great technique. I find that I sometimes do the roll and I sometimes use this other technique, which is bringing the second finger into the equation so that you end up using the second finger on the note that you would then roll. So for example, it's hard to explain with words, much easier to show you by playing ya. So for example, you'll notice that with this technique, the second finger is going to sneak in and take the note that the third finger would normally play. And what that does is it frees up the third finger to do the higher string. And of course we can do that from the D string and we can do that from the A string. It works on either. Here's both. I'll do both with that technique. If you practice all the exercises that I've put on my website there that you can download, you will sort of internalize this rollover concept and you'll find that you'll start automatically placing it in your own improvised licks without even thinking about it. It just becomes a habit, and that's what we want. Eventually, we want to just be playing some notes in pentatonic, and suddenly we realize, oh, I'm doing that thing. That's cool. I didn't even really think about doing the thing. If you want more of these kind of guitar tips, I'm going to put a video on the screen here for you that you can check out and try out some of the other videos on my channel. My name is Blue Morris. I teach guitar here in Vancouver, Canada, and I'm going to make a guitar video for you every Saturday for about a year, and then we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching.